something you should not be telling the cops. Go on, sing your song. Welcome to Legends of Gotham, where we talk about Fox's hit series Gotham, set in the world of Batman. I'm Bill Meeks.
And I'm Anne-Marie DeSimone.
And we are back here Sunday night, 9 p.m. EST or ET, depending on how you
like
believe.
to write the thing.
Yeah.
Yes.
At facebook.com/Legends of Gotham, where we're talking about, believe it or not,
Gotham.
the new episode of Gotham. How are you doing tonight, Anne-Marie?
I am fabulous. And yourself?
I am Fabu.
Ooh, Fabu.
Is Fabu better than Fabulous,
I have
or is
no idea, to
Fabulous
be honest
better
with
than
you.
Fabu? Neither do
No
I.
clue.
Neither do I. But we want to thank you guys for joining us here
Yes,
live,
thank you.
as always, every week. Now, Anne-Marie, just a word of warning up front. You said next week we have a week off, right? Or is
No,
it
the week after next.
Okay.
Our spring break. We magically get off on our spring break,
Oh, nice.
which is convenient.
But very good. Very
Fabulous and
good.
convenient. Yes.
So,
Yeah.
what else do we normally talk about at the top of the show?
$1 million.
Well, I've had this
question.
infected bunion on my foot.
Whoa,
No, I'm kidding.
wrong,
I'm
Wrong
kidding.
type of show.
Yeah, sorry. That's the Bunyan Cast that we're going to be doing after this at 10 p.m. EST at
Bunyan
facebook.com/BunyanCast. It's a lot of fun.
No bunny cat.
We appreciate you guys joining us live. I'm sure we'll see you pop in the chat room here in a minute here. But Emery, why don't we go ahead and get this discussion started with the Rhyming Riddling episode
I
summary.
almost started reading your point. Okay. Who's the man haunting Gotham's dank sewers? This killer croc is more than just rumors. How did Mr. Penn manage to survive? Lacks coroners and a dummy disguise. Is Jane Doe evil? Harvey's to blame. Does her ivory mask hide more than her name? Will Scarface's debut get Ed and Pengy talking? They bond over a bullet, and this week's Nothing's Shocking.
Nothing shocking.
Nothing's shocking.
Nothing shocking. Anne-Marie, what'd you think?
Nothing was shocking.
Nothing was shocking. It's a very apt episode title. Definitely.
We just realized that about 10 minutes ago. We're like, oh, yeah. Nothing was shocking.
The thing is, like, what else would that title be referencing? Because normally we like to pick apart the titles if we can. If it's like a song lyric, we'll relate it to it or something. But I actually, outside of the...
Do you think they were making fun of themselves with that one?
Maybe. Or
like somebody was just like, you know what? Nothing really happened.
Yeah. That was, if I had problems with it, I think my main problems were that it felt like every scene that happened in the episode, introduced a conflict and resolved it to where if you went back and rewatched this season, you
don't
could cut
need
this
this
episode out entirely.
Completely.
That being said, I did like a lot of aspects.
Actually, the only thing that I think will carry over even slightly was the fact that Jim will not forgive Harvey.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm sure we'll discuss that.
And as Charlotte in the chat room says, it's so Gotham.
It is so Gotham.
It is so Gotham.
Oh, Gotham.
You know what else is so Gotham?
Why?
My first point.
Okay.
Which I have titled Bullock's Cobblepot. So in this episode, Harvey's old partner Dick shows up. Sorry if I mispronounced that.
Dix.
Dix?
I thought it was D-I-X.
Was it D-I-X?
I mean, we don't know because it's a TV show and not a novel.
It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But anyway, his old partner shows up when an old case comes back to haunt him. Jane Doe is the result of Harvey's first big case and one that he regrets. It's also the case that created the Harvey we met way back in season 1, that sort of cynical, keep your head down, do what you have to survive, right. Harvey Bullock. Mm-hmm. It's all because of what happened with this case. So he feels he let Jane Cartwright / Jane Doe down because he listened to Dix and pushed the case through without adequate context. Basically, if I'm misunderstanding this, correct me, please.
I'll try.
but no, I guess the big thing was, he got Jane to turn on her mom.
I don't know if it was necessarily to turn on her mom, but to make a statement.
Yeah.
the statement that put her mom in jail because there was no physical evidence.
And he kind of pushed that through because his partners told him to. Dix and
they weren't his partners. He was a rookie cop trying to become a detective.
Gotcha.
I feel like I'm quoting now. But over in before you keep going.
Okay.
Marion says, I think they tried to do too much in this episode. True story. And that they should have called it Mr. and Mrs. Scarface. Charlotte agrees. And you know what? So do I.
Nice. But, he didn't have I guess later on he got context that there had been some abuse going on. And so maybe it would have been justified or self-defense or something. But the old guard of cops that made him push it all through.
Right.
Even though the evidence might not have been there.
Right.
But this villain, I realized as I was watching the episode, is really Bullock's Cobblepot. Remember back in season 1, the episode Everybody Has a Cobblepot, where Bullock, I believe it's Bullock that tells Jim that everybody has a skeleton in their closet that they have to deal and live with. Yeah. In the context of that episode, it was Oswald Cobblepot because Jim had pulled a gun on him and tried to shoot him and everything, and then he went off and ate a bunch of sandwiches and all that.
Finish each other's sandwiches.
But I thought it was interesting that we finally get to see what Bullock's Cobblepot was, and that's Jane Doe, this whole situation that comes to light in this episode. Interesting enough, though, I went back and looked at the episode description for that episode, and considering how many people have been labeling this episode as a bit of filler, Everybody Has a Cobblepot was the episode where the Dollmaker Island and Fish Mooney and all that was introduced, and that was another common complaint back then.
It was a filler.
That it felt like filler because they got an extra 2 or 3 episodes, I think, that season.
I think I got more than that.
Maybe.
It was 4.
Yeah, but anyway, a lot of people said that felt, so I thought it was kind of interesting that, when they bring back that concept of...
They brought back the same filler feeling.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Now, as far as Jane Doe, I don't know if you have any opinions on her, Anne-Marie, but...
I'll let you say yours and then I'll throw in mine.
She felt kind of like a mashup of, remember that character of Commissioner Loeb's daughter who was in the attic?
Yes.
It was like a mashup of that and Clayface.
Yes.
It was an interesting tale and everything, but it was pretty complicated to slot into an already jam-packed episode where not a lot happened. You know what I mean?
It was the most packed episode that nothing happened in. It was it just never stopped.
Yeah, it was just I feel like if this aspect of the episode or other aspects of the episode had been given a little bit more room to breathe, it would have been a bit more satisfying. But I did think overall, though, I did like the story. I did like the character, like that whole thing where she pulls her hand through the handcuffs thing was pretty cool.
That was cool. They could have done so much with that character.
Yeah,
they didn't.
Yeah, I also thought it was interesting that she shed her face shed every time she transformed.
Yes, that was weird that she shed her skin. Soledad says, "What was even wrong with Jane Doe's face?" Okay, I had the exact same question, and the answer: nothing.
I think she had a sense of body dysmorphia. She felt like an ugly person, so when she looked in the mirror, she saw herself as an ugly person or a horrific person.
Right? Yeah, It was more her interpretation that she was ugly and gross, and probably because she kept looking at herself as other people. Yeah. Oh, she had a scar? Where? I saw no scar. Probably because half of her face was covered in stringy hair. When you actually saw it for 12 seconds. I
did think, though, that the way they chose to portray her with the white mask and everything was a little too close to the way they portrayed the mother character a few episodes back. It felt like a little too much hitting the same note over and over a couple times.
The costume designer might have been sick that day. Yeah. They decided to be what do we have? Recycle it. Recycle it.
Bobby Hawk in the chat room has a really good point. He says maybe she saw a resemblance to her father, and maybe that's why she hated the way she looked. Maybe it just brought back to mind her father, who
that's possible.
Committed all those murders.
And Marianne says that she had a scar under her left eye too. So that might have been
something to do
in relation to something involving why she didn't like herself.
It was really cool. I still think it was really cool though how she shed the skin off every time.
I was highly entertained by the fact that Bullock pulled the face off of her.
Mm-hmm.
Ew.
Yeah.
why do they like to like take faces and things? That's not like we have taken faces off many times on this show.
We've even called an episode Face Off.
Yes,
Because of faces coming off.
Yeah.
One more thing I'd like to touch on here briefly is,
this gonna be good?
as part of her storyline, she transforms into Barbara.
Mhm.
And I just felt that whole scene
Was terrible.
It felt like an 80s sitcom.
Yeah.
A classic
Well-
like double character 80s sitcom thing where, I have to ask the question to find out who the right
Right.
person is and everything.
Right. Okay. See, I have this in my quibbles and bits, but we'll talk about it now.
Mhm.
Barbara would not have given up her coat
Yeah.
without a fight, and she wouldn't have just come like bop, 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 Jim or whatever. Like
Yeah.
she wouldn't have come in there that calm, no matter what.
hmm
Especially if the woman took her coat from her.
Yeah.
Like there would have been a lot more shenanigans. And I think she really would have just come in and like started going at the lady.
Yeah.
I don't feel like that would have had like I don't know. I don't know what went on in this episode.
Anything else interesting from the chat room?
More discussion about the scar. Dawn O'R says the scar was hidden in shadow, but I wasn't sure if it was supposed to be a scar or we were supposed to see that nothing was wrong with her.
Mhm.
I was really unclear on that. Welcome to the party of
See,
unclear.
If nothing else, I got that from Bullock's reaction that he's like, "What the hell, man? Like you're fine."
Yeah, you
Like,
good. And then he had to kill her because she
Yeah.
put a gun on him.
Suicide by cop.
Pretty much. So, all right. This point is going to sound a little familiar to everyone if you've been listening at all this season. So I continue to have logistical problems with Gotham. There are so many logistical problems that are happening. I mean, we're 3+ months after the like bridges have fallen, probably pushing like 4 or 5 at this point. Because I have no idea how long it takes for things to happen. How does anywhere still have electricity?
hmm
I could see it maybe of going on for like a week or 2.
Yeah.
Nobody's like, if they have a power plant in Gotham, like, who's working that? I don't see anybody going, hold on, I'm going to go work the power plant. Like, keep the lights on.
Maybe it's a little bit outside of Gotham or something, like
But
over
they-
by Wayne Manor.
Yeah, Wayne Manor just exploded,
Yeah.
and nobody's helping them.
Mhm.
It's all on them. So if they're not in Gotham, it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Let's see. Same with the running water and sewage. Like we had issues with Haven. We need running water. We need running water. Well, Haven blew up, so any water they had is gone now.
Yeah.
And sewage. Food. It was such a big deal in like the first 2 or 3 episodes that we were running low on food, that we had to have like a covert helicopter episode with an RPG blowing it up and it causing all sorts of drama.
Well, to be fair, that's when they were putting Haven together, and now there's a lot less people to feed.
But all the food that they had in Haven blew up.
Yeah, very true.
So, I mean, if they'd had food for 200 and then
Mhm.
now we only have like 70,
Yeah.
they would be good. Except the food was in Haven, I can only assume.
I would assume some areas of Gotham have moved on to cannibalism.
I'm guarantee
yeah,
that.
definitely.
Let's see. Is it just me, or does it seem like there are more GCPD officers than there was in the beginning? And they are all suddenly all packing. Like, I get that they got some guns and ammo from Eduardo's guys. Where did they go, by the way, when Fearless Leader disappeared?
Well, didn't they get some from Penguin too? Penguin gave
them some,
Yeah.
but it just feels very weird, like that when the 2 Barbaras showed up, suddenly they both had guns and everybody had guns. And I'm like,
Yeah.
there were way more cops here than there has been over the entire thing. And none of our regulars. Like none of our like favorites.
That's kind of something else that stuck out to this episode about me, is it felt like a pre-Bridges blowing up episode of
Yes,
Gotham.
it was completely pre-Bridges. Soledad says, I have a better question. Why is the GCPD acting like regular cops solving cases like nothing is wrong? Thank you. There are way bigger fish to fry than why these 2 guys got killed in the club.
Uh-huh.
Honestly, we could have just let that go, because once she killed Dix, she'd have been done.
Yeah, it just feels, this whole season was about elevating to extraordinary circumstances, and this episode felt like just an average, Gotham
Season 2
is the city of-
episode.
yeah, exactly.
This was like a season 2 episode. And I've asked this question before. How is information spreading so quickly? Like Dix knew that these other guys had been killed and feared that somebody was coming for him within hours.
Yeah.
The man was in a wheelchair in an apartment building, which I already have questions about. Like, how is he getting up and down? Is somebody maintaining the elevators?
Well, they're old cops. They probably use the old ways. They have like shortwave radios or something.
But
the old cops.
But
network.
they were dead.
Yeah.
They were dead.
True.
Like,
although that never really means much in Gotham.
It really doesn't.
Unless you're an old cop, they're probably
true.
really actually dead.
I'm sure they're dead at this point. We don't have time to bring it. Well, I say we don't have time to bring other people back, but we did that this episode too. But like, he doesn't seem like the kind of guy who has a lot of friends who are in the know.
Yeah.
And like, even these guys had like crappy intel. They just wanted a drink. They're like, Babs, you're the only one with a good bar. Say, fine, one drink, both of you. Cups and string telephones. Yes, Peter. Yes.
Babs was very ageist in that early in the episode. She was like,
because she has to keep up appearances.
I suppose so.
And I mean, it's gonna be hard enough now that she's preggers. Anyway,
nice.
Thank you for letting me rant.
It's okay. A good rant helps the soul.
That's what everybody expects from me, anyway.
Okay, anything else interesting in the chat room, or on to me?
Well, let's see, Marianne. I seem to remember some show where an actor went crazy because they got a scar on their perfect face, but I cannot remember what show that was. Yep, me neither.
We'll say Saint Elsewhere. That sounds right.
That sounds roughly.
That sounds right.
80s is right.
Okay, so I wanted to talk a little bit about one of two major Batman villains who made their premiere or debut in this episode, and that is the classic Batman villain Killer Croc. I mean Killer Croc. Killer Croc. Killer Croc. Now, while I appreciate them trying to include more Bat villains in the extra episodes they got, Croc really felt a little half-baked here.
A little?
In the comics, for me anyway, the most compelling part of the Killer Croc character is always the tortured, lonely monster who could probably be a good guy if he wasn't hated by society. Kind of dynamic. It's why many Croc stories end up in Batman letting him go, or Croc saving an innocent person, something like that.
He did the opposite of that here.
Yeah, he's a monster in the comics, but in general, he has a pretty decent sense of justice, and when it doesn't interfere with something that he wants to do, he's more than willing to lend a helping hand.
You mean like eat people?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Cannibalism.
Soledad says, and Babs is already showing. How long has it been since the last episode? Yeah, bumps don't show up in 4 days. And so Soledad also says that Croc looked like a zombie. Yeah, a lot more like a zombie.
Bit.
There was no, I got no Croc.
Yeah, there was a little bit.
Except that they were in the sewer.
There was like a little bit of scalification, I guess.
Was there?
Nothing major.
It was never clear. Like, we never got a good shot of them.
Yeah. Plus, what was in that Joker venom that would cause that to happen too?
No.
But
Solomon Grundish.
I think my main complaint is that in this episode, Croc didn't really have much to him outside of the viciousness, outside of the monster aspect of him. Mm-hmm. Overall, he felt like a very sort of empty, tacked on character. Yes. If they had given him a bigger chunk of the episode where they could have developed it a little bit more, maybe by, say, eliminating the Jane Doe plotline, I think it would have had a bigger impact and might have been as powerful, moving, and memorable of an episode as the Mr. Freeze origin story we got a couple seasons back.
Literally, when you said that, I went, Mr. Freeze 7-Up.
Yeah. Mr. Freeze 7-Up.
Sorry.
But
character bleed.
No, I feel like I feel like Killer Croc deserved more than he got. More than just like a one-off monster of the week.
Absolutely, and like especially because at least a lot of people have, even if they weren't like huge into Batman mythos, have some idea of Killer Croc because of Suicide Squad, or at least I do. Yeah, have at least something to go off of.
There is an awareness now outside of the comics or like Batman the Animated Series.
Right.
Now.
It's more people know.
Yeah.
And they did not do it justice.
Yeah. I feel like there was as much development for this Killer Croc as the person we thought was Killer Croc back when the city was overrun by monsters.
Yes. Yeah. That was a much more believable character.
But As it stands, though, I feel like the whole Killer Croc storyline just was more noise in an already noisy episode. I also really didn't like the fight sequence. It felt like they were trying to go for like a Nolan Batman Begins close-up fight sequence thing, but it was just confusing. I couldn't tell what was going on. Okay. It wasn't.
It was really
done.
dark.
Yeah,
it was really dark.
And again, like I said, I think they were trying to emulate the Nolan style of Batman combat from Begins and Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises, but I just don't think. I don't think they landed it. Yeah, I don't think they landed that rocket. Anything else from the chat room?
Lots of confusion about Killer Croc, and Soledad hit on something we're going to talk about in a few minutes. So, Green Zone Clinic questions.
Okay.
I have a couple of them, so they're lumped together.
Okay.
One
caveat, I'm not an expert on the Green Zone Clinic.
Well, maybe somebody over in the comments is. What in the world happened to our Ace Chemical soaked Jeremiah, who was wrapped up in a bed in our last episode?
Mm-hmm.
There is absolutely positively no way that somebody wasn't monitoring this person blob thing 24/7, whether it be one of the many GCPD officers that have randomly appeared in the last week or two, or Bruce and Alfred.
Yeah.
Where'd he go?
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't even mentioned. Their opening scene for them was in the clinic.
Well, I would assume they're kind of going with that whole bat trope of, and
if you didn't see it, it didn't happen.
No, when you get to and the Joker got away, it's just assumed he's gone and he'll be back, whatever. Batman doesn't really go out and look for him too much if he's not doing anything active. If he falls in a river and gets washed down the river, it's oh, the Joker's gone. I guess that's fixed now.
Yeah, I guess. I don't like it. Also, okay, so random lady who escaped the West End.
I will say over in the comments, Soledad says, I want to believe that Bruce goes to visit Jeremiah every day. Maybe he reads him a story.
I like that.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, the story.
That's
and
nice,
this
Bruce.
is how I threw you in Ace Chemicals. And this is how I threw you in the Ace Chemicals. And this is how I ripped your brother's face off. And he can read him all the scripts from the earlier seasons. Okay, random lady who escaped the West End looking for Mr. Wayne to help her find her husband and the others. Is the West End in the green zone? Sure doesn't seem like it would be. If it is, how did this woman escape with a crazy head laceration and being very confused and crazy?
I also wonder, why did she seek out Bruce Wayne for help? Okay.
Why did she go looking for Bruce and not Jim and the remaining members of the GCPD? It's like he read my notes but didn't.
It's is it common knowledge now in No Man's Land that Bruce Wayne's out there?
But I don't think it is
with a grappling hook.
I don't think it is. They knew that it was his helicopter and stuff like that stuff makes sense for people to know. Mm-hmm. She's not going in looking for food or medicine or anything. Yeah. She's looking for somebody to find her husband. That is not. He's an 18-year-old kid.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even 16 in the show. I don't really remember where. I have no concept of time anymore. So it's I'm glad they're here to help, and they, I guess, kind of, and reunited her with her husband and various friends' body parts.
Mm-hmm.
But it just was weird.
Yeah.
Please, Mr. Wayne. See, I didn't like that.
I could see an adult Bruce Wayne, because the adult Bruce Wayne is known for being a philanthropist and everything.
See, that makes sense. is this how it starts?
Maybe.
Is it just he happened to be volunteering at the clinic when he was supposed to be watching Jeremiah or, wherever Selena is? And Ivy, and so many other characters we actually care about versus all these ones they just threw at us this week. It's just there's so many characters that have something that has been going on for 5 years and we're just ignoring them.
Yeah.
I'm very ranty today. Can you tell? Sorry. As you were.
Speaking of, if we're doing rants, I have a rant real quick.
Okay.
Every writer on Gotham but John Stevens. I'm not throwing John Stevens under the bus people online have been doing for the past couple months.
Jerks.
I'm throwing everybody else on the show under the bus.
Okay.
Okay, John Stevens gave an interview that I read recently.
Okay.
Where he talked about characters they wanted to use in Gotham.
Uh-huh.
He was going to use the Condiment King.
No!
And the other writers said no one would get it. What the hell?
We talked about that in season 1.
I know.
We wanted the Condiment King.
We have been ringing the Condiment King bell for decades.
Ding, 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 ding. I have no bells.
By shooting it with sour cream. But
guacamole.
Guacamole. No, but seriously, other writers on Gotham, everyone would
We're
love
looking
the
at you,
Condiment
Ben
King.
McKenzie.
Ben McKenzie coming up.
Coming up next week. We thought this was your episode.
Sorry,
Ben.
That's my rant for the evening. We were robbed of a live action
Condiment
Condiment King.
Condiment King.
Bo.
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 I think it's time to do something though.
What is it time to do? I know. It's time to light the night! Light the night, light the night, light the night, light the night. And our new reoccurring for the next 4 or 5 weeks segment, we shine a spotlight on the pivotal steps on Bruce's path to the Bat. Anne-Marie, what are we shining a light on tonight? Light the night!
We are shining the light on Bruce throwing those little rocks or pieces of metal at the Killer Croc, Croc, sort of, Batarang-like. Of course, they're not coming back because they're like stuck in his like slimy skin, but it was very Batarang-y. So, way to light the night, Bruce.
Yeah, I'd say if there were light the nights moment, they were all involved in the sewer thing, like
because they had to be. That was all he had.
Yeah. Definitely.
He was in the clinic, he was in the sewer. He was in the clinic, he was in the sewer.
You also did mention a little moment at the end. With the scene between Bruce and Alfred.
Hold on, please. Hold on, I have this.
No, basically...
No. I write quotes.
Okay.
Alfred, they need someone to protect them. Bruce, I agree. First of all, let's talk about the bad writing. Second of all,
who needs a bat to fly through a window? It's a simple conversation.
Batman begins.
Batman.
Well, we've been saying that for about a year and a half.
Batman done begun is what I say.
Batman done begun.
All right, we're going to play a quick little trailer for another project we've been working on. We'll be right back.
In this crazy mixed up world, you need fake news you can depend on.
Count on. Laugh at.
When news is breaking, it's probably the fakest.
It's probably the fakest that's breaking it. That's me. I'm Paul Defoe.
We've got a commercial, Paul.
Breaking the fake news for real. From KCOM Studios in somewhere west of New York City, this is The Fakest.
Only one podcast is on it. On the scene, making up, breaking the fake news for real. With more reporters covering more fake stories. Coming June 18th to Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Google Play, Google Podcast, and VoiceFacts. I can also email you the transcript if you want. Check us out at thefakest.com and subscribe on Apple Podcast for a new thrilling episode every 2 weeks. Pretty timely. The Fakest. We fake it when we make it.
And that's The Fakest. Sketch comedy with a plot, done in a news format. It's not really political.
It's not political. It's going to sound political. It's going to feel political. It's not political.
It's not political. Comedy. It's sketch comedy, and there's also an ongoing story with the news team characters. We're getting ready to gear up for season 2 here, so now's the time to go catch up over at thefakest.com. Mm-hmm. I'm working on an episode this week, which is going to involve 3 guest writers. So far, all the episodes have been written by me with Anne-Marie's help. Just a little bit.
I edited things. I'm like, I don't know what that word means. Your audience won't know.
She's my beta reader. But this season, we're going to be opening it up to other writers too. So we're going to have 3 new stories from 3 new voices. It's going to be awesome. So get caught up. Awesome. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be great. As is the next part of the episode I want to talk about, which is Mr. Penn, the ventriloquist. I loved it.
I loved it.
Absolutely loved it. Loved it.
Wasn't needed, but I loved it.
One, it was great to see Mr. Penn again. He's always been a really good watch. Throughout the past couple seasons, right? I think it's the past couple seasons. And it also introduced the dummy villain Scarface to the world of Gotham. Now, Anne-Marie, I don't think you were very aware of the ventriloquist Scarface dynamic. No. What was your impression of it as a neophyte?
haven't heard that word in forever. I don't even know.
You don't even
I don't
know?
even know.
Applesauce, you know.
Applesauce. I don't know. Yeah, it was interesting. I'm not a huge fan of dummies and ventriloquists.
Like you're scared of them, or you just
I think it's
actively
weird.
dislike
I actually
them.
just think it's weird,
yeah.
which is weird that my daughter was trying to be a ventriloquist today with a sock puppet that had eyeballs. So, after watching this and then watching it was just lots of ventriloquisty. I don't know. I'd rather just had Mr. Penn just voice it all and like turn into Mr. Scarface.
Oh, like.
I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Draw the like things on and like be the dummy.
That would be an interesting take on it. For
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
For
Right?
sure. Yeah.
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 Okay.
But no, I really liked it. I believe this is also the first appearance of Scarface / at least a proto version of the ventriloquist in live action, and I think the writing in these scenes was pretty
Better
killer
than
too.
others?
Like it was another situation where all the Ed, Oswald, Mr. Penn stuff have been extracted from the episode and the season. We probably wouldn't have lost anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I thought the writing was relatively well done, and it kind of helped strengthen the Ed
Yes.
Oswald relationship.
Yeah, that's probably another takeaway that we actually get from this episode is it strengthens them again. And it's not
because they've been divided for the past couple seasons. I mean, they've had moments where they've worked together, but
now it's like know, you can see like the bonds that we're going to finally get in the opening scene of the season.
Exactly.
Not series.
But okay, so
yeah.
In the comics, the ventriloquist is a guy named Arnold Wesker.
Okay.
And, Mr. Penn is not him, but the dynamic between him and Scarface feels exactly like the dynamic between Arnold Wesker and the comic book version of Scarface.
Okay.
I also thought it was interesting that, he mentioned that he found Scarface in a magic shop. There's always sort of a lingering question about Scarface, if he's an actual threat, an actual entity, or just a
dummy that he picked up.
Or a product or projection of the ventriloquist sort of delusions. Considering how Mr. Penn ends up in this at the end of this episode, he dies. I have a feeling that even if they never address it again, and they probably won't, the Gotham writers were intending to suggest that Scarface was sort of a magical entity, and that in the future Arnold Wesker would find his way into that same magic shop and find another version of the Scarface puppet, one that Penguin hadn't blown the head off of.
Okay.
It was interesting that both Scarface and Mr. Penn were shot in the head, though.
Yeah.
Or maybe not.
Let's see. Peter says, felt the Riddler killing Penn was better fitting than Sophia shooting the pig, because that's a more real reaction for a supervillain to a lesser psycho criminal.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah, I also thought it was kind of an interesting thing, because throughout all of the scenes, like you kind of felt you weren't sure where Ed's allegiances
You had no
were
idea
going.
what was going on. Ed's like going off on a tangent.
And then
you don't do anything.
And then
he saves him.
They're at the end with one action. They're made for each other,
basically.
But it was great to see Mr. Penn back, and I thought he did a really good job with Scarface and the voice, and the dynamic was magnifique.
Fabulous. Nig Mobblepot returns.
Nig Mobblepot.
So I will never tire of watching the relationship between these two gentlemen grow and develop, and crash and burn, and grow and develop, and crash and burn. No matter how many psych breaks that they seem to go through, because they go through quite a few. This one has a psych break. The other one has a psych break. They go through one together. It's interesting. But when will Ed learn that Oswald is a taker?
Yeah.
He's a taker.
Mm-hmm.
He's not going to do anything for you, really. Like, all he's going to do is, like, blow the head off of somebody, usually.
Yeah.
He got some hired help that was carrying his food. But that's about it. And he's just not going to change. So he either needs to, like, deal with it, which he seems to at the end, or, like, stop letting him get away with it.
Yeah.
Like, don't let him on the submarine. It's fine.
Well, I will say that I felt like that was a little bit of a cop out because I mean everyone brings different strengths to a relationship.
He's bringing the jewels. He's bringing the goods.
He's bringing the jewels. He went out and he got some muscle, stuff like that.
Yes, but that's not what Ed was needing. Ed was like, I don't know how to do sonar.
Yeah.
You are asking the wrong person. There is one person in Gotham, and you're probably not going to ask them how to help you.
Lucius?
Yep. Which, Lucius. Bring back Lucius. I need more of that. Let's see. What exactly does Ed expect from Oswald to do in terms of building the submarine? He doesn't exactly have the type of brain or abilities for building things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not what he does.
Yeah.
It's just not what he does. It's nice to see Oswald, however, realize that he's a crappy friend to absolutely everyone all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So that was kind of a neat little development. Go ahead.
Yeah, it was a moment of self-awareness I don't think we've gotten with Penguin in a while. He's been so like his ego's been so inflated and everything that
Right.
I don't think he's taken a moment to self-reflect.
No, not at all.
That's why I'm alone.
See, my points are just so much more fluffy than yours. I wonder what is going to be next for this duo because they are absolutely never getting out of Gotham. They're not. You're not going anywhere.
Oh, I really hope we get a scene with them in a submarine, though. Like, maybe like a divided like cutaway thing where like they show.
That would be glorious. I would love it. It's never
awesome.
going to happen. It's never going to happen.
So what do you think about? I know we have a lot of listeners who are pretty committed to the Nig Pot ship.
Yep.
They're
riding that ship till it dies.
Do you think we in the flash forward we might see a Nig Pot romance that has developed over the course of the 10 years in between?
I would support that, but I don't think what we've seen so far supports that.
I'd say
I'd love to see it.
I'd say the end of the scene in this episode made me feel like that was an actual possibility of happening again for the first time in a couple seasons.
But the opening scene of this season, they were in their separate places.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like if we were going that route, we would be in the same location.
Mm.
Because
but who knows? Depending on how that whole situation falls out, maybe they'll come to a nice place.
Maybe they'll come to a nice place.
But they can go get a cup of coffee, get a nosh.
Nosh.
But yeah, it was it was an episode.
It was an episode.
It was anything from the chat room?
Donowar says it's the same plot as Lost. Penguin calling Arthur Arnold was a nice nod to the comics. I'm really bad at scrolling. They're meant for each other, basically. Big Marble Pot love.
They are meant for each other. Okay, we're going to wrap it up with some quibbles and bits here. These are random bits from our notes we didn't think deserved an entire discussion point, but we thought were worth mentioning anyway. So my first one is Penn's ventriloquist. Penn's ventriloquist seemed to improve throughout, or ventriloquism rather. His adeptness at being a ventriloquist seemed to improve throughout the episode, almost as if the more control Scarface took, the less Penn had to control him.
True.
Like if my theory that is probably never going to pan out one way or the other about him being a magical entity,
we can just think it on our own.
Is true. I think maybe Penn, the ventriloquism got better as Scarface was taking more control of the situation. I thought that was cool.
Rest in peace, Dale. We hardly knew you.
Yeah, just like another Gabe.
Another Gabe. Like, going off of that one, though. Are all of Penguin's goons gone now? He's like, I have no one. So nobody's making bullets anymore then?
Yeah, very true.
No,
very true.
I don't know what's going on.
Okay, with a new reference to Hugo Strange's work in Indian Hill, might we finally get a resolution to the Yanni Bruce storyline, the clone Bruce Wayne storyline? That would be really cool if they just like
all of a sudden Yanni Bruce.
I read someone say on the internet a couple weeks ago, wouldn't it be funny if Alfred in this episode, if Alfred and Bruce were just wandering through the sewers and they come along a body and they're like, oh, it's the clone, and that's the wrap up.
That's the wrap up.
He just died in the story.
He just died in the sewers. Babs would not have given her code up that easily to Jane. We already talked about that. Anyway.
If Penn's story about waking up in the morgue was true, the GCPD has really let down their medical standards or let them drop. You'd think Lucius would have realized he was alive.
I feel like he's a little busy.
Maybe, possibly.
Your flashlight dying was really the sign you should leave, Bruce. Shouldn't you check the batteries before you went down?
Yeah,
there?
probably. If only he had a belt with some extra batteries. Maybe this is where he gets the idea. Light the night.
With the flashlight.
Yeah.
And it had little bats on the side, like little bat signals. Anyway, sorry.
I thought the ending of the episode was really weak for Gotham. Normally, Gotham ends on like a holy moment, and this episode did not. It was just kind of like, I just thought you should know, Jim. Bye, Gotham.
Yeah.
It just kind of fizzled out for me a little bit.
There's so many characters running around Gotham that I care about their story that I'm really having a hard time focusing on all these stories that just seem to come out of left field and not really moving the plot forward.
Fair enough.
Related. So I was playing on the Gotham wiki earlier because I now do that. And there was an interview with our buddy John Stevens earlier, like in October or something, when they changed it from 10 episodes to 12. It says, as a result of the shortened season, the showrunner John Stevens stated that we move really quickly. We tried to build out the character moments as well. Sometimes we've had so much plot that we had to squeeze out some character stuff. And now that it's the last chance we have to be with these characters, we're letting them live in these moments. But you're not. You're squeezing them back in.
I could see, again, the Mr. Penn scenes in this episode kind of speaking to that. But, the other,
none of the other ones were.
Yeah, there was no real character development too much for, there was a little bit of backstory explained for Bullock, but
yeah,
I don't think any other characters really had any strong development. I guess they tried to do that with Alfred a little bit, with him like blaming himself for the Wayne murder, but they hadn't really established that until that scene where it's like, no, you don't have to.
And that shouldn't have happened right then.
Yeah,
it was that was like a week too late.
Yeah, it would have been cool if like Alfred had expressed concerns about that or something this week, and then next week they addressed it or something. Give it a little time to build up the drama.
Well, maybe we're gonna have a time jump or something coming soon.
Possibly.
Well, we know we're having at least one soon, but we should have at least two.
Okay, well, now we've reached the end of our discussion, so it's time to find out what we thought about the episode. Now, normally what I do is I come up with some random thing from the episode, some random number, right on the spot, right now. And Anne-Marie, out of 1,008 Scarface splinters, how many Scarface splinters do you give this episode? And over in the comments, feel free to chime in too.
712.
712. Why?
Because it sucked. It really that's actually probably really high for how I feel about it. Like, let's be honest. We were rewatching and taking notes, and I was banging my head on the thing, the bed stand. It was boring. It was really nothing moved forward, and like we've said 6 times, because all of the haterade and all of the lands. You could have completely pulled this episode out, put it any other season, with tiny tweaks, tiny, and you'd have been fine, and it would have been more entertaining, and it would have been more exciting, because we'd have been like, oh, we're getting Killer Croc, we're getting the ventriloquist, look at this cool face thing,
yeah, that's the thing. In earlier seasons, when they've introduced Bat villains, they've given them an arc and time to really develop and shine.
Killer Croc should have had a whole half a season arc.
Yeah.
The ventriloquist, we could have seen that build and build. I'd have loved to have seen him in the magic shop and
To be fair with Mr. Penn, we have seen that character sort of build and build and build.
Yes, and I'll give you that, but
so if you had to put, we have some things coming in from the chat room. What are people saying in the chat room?
Hold on. Let's see. Soledad 730, filler episode. Bobby 755. Marianne 800, and it's that high because of Scarface. John, it's hard for me to pay attention to, and since I've been more negative than you all, I thought it was just me. I'm weirdly comforted that Anne-Marie is a hater now. I'm not a hater, I just really despise this episode. Mike Pasqua 660, Scarface splitters, Peter Price 957. Okay, see. Oh, but 900 of those are for Scarface, and the other 57 are split amongst the rest of the show. See, that I'm okay with. I'm on board with that.
Definitely.
That is how I feel about the situation.
As for me, I'm probably gonna have to give it Like an 850 Scarface splinters.
850?
Yeah, just because, the Scarface stuff I thought was amazing. The Jane Doe story was okay. The Killer Croc stuff kind of sucked. And I just feel like with so few episodes left, they might have been better served working on the season arc versus just these little side jaunts,
Yeah, it just like, if you don't have anything else to say at like this time, do a mini time jump. Do like a month down the road. You know what I mean? Like, they don't even have to do like a big giant.
Or take one aspect of the episode, like the Scarface thing or the Killer Croc thing,
and
make
build it.
Yeah, and just make that
and
the
work
majority
it
of
into
the
the rest
episode.
of the episode. Have it make sense.
Yeah.
But now it doesn't matter.
That's another thing with this one is just, we've discussed over the past few weeks about how, the different plot lines tend to coalesce towards the end of an episode.
This didn't at all.
None of the plot lines even touch each other, really, at all.
And it's fine if like one of them doesn't, because it's like building the side thing. And it's usually the Mobble Pot that's like coming up the side, and about 2 episodes, boom, it all attacks.
Exactly.
It's not going to do that.
Yeah.
Unless it's like, to go back to the Lost reference, like when they were pushing out the boat. When it's like they're pushing out the submarine, like that I want to see. I want to see everybody gathering around and not necessarily cheering, but in, relation.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But always good. I hopefully next week will be a little better.
It has to be.
Yeah.
It has to be.
But we're going to wrap up now with some listener feedback. As always, when you get done watching the episode next week, jaunt over to your computer and email us, legendsofgotham@gmail.com. You can also hop over to your phone and leave us a voicemail at 424-274-2352. Again, that's 424-274-2352. Or you can just be a lazy ass and tweet us at Legends of Gotham.
Or comment on a YouTube video or something.
Yeah, or visit us over on Facebook at facebook.com/Legends of Gotham. Now, we always like to start with voicemails because at this point, we're tired of talking. And as usual, we normally start with Bobby's voicemail. Take it away, Bobby.
Hey guys, it's Bobby.
Hey.
There wasn't a whole lot going on this week to drive the story forward, so I guess you could say we got a filler episode, but I was certainly entertained while watching. As for Bruce and Alfred, doesn't look like we got Joker's smiling fish. Sorry, Bill, but we certainly see the effects that the toxins in the river have, and let's just say I wouldn't want to go for a swim. It seems like Gotham is having fun with the time they have left and introducing characters that they never got a chance to right and left, and unfortunately killing them off as soon as they're introduced. There had been rumors, but wow, I've got to say that the ventriloquist and Scarface has got to be one of the most comic accurate representations on Gotham thus far.
Absolutely.
Which made it even more heartbreaking when Riddler put a bullet through his head. And as for the A story, Clayface was the first thing that came to my mind, so I'm glad that Bullock, called that out. And this is a character I'm not familiar with. While I was certainly entertained while watching the episode, I can't help but, upon reflection, like, I feel like there's a bunch of plot holes. Like, I don't understand. They never really explained the chameleon or whatever her name, Jane Doe. They never really explained the extent of her powers and her weaknesses and what all that pertains. They just kind of like said, oh, look, her skin, her face comes off. I don't know. All of that was really confusing. And then the point that she was like hitting, grossed out by her face. I wonder if that's like because maybe she looks like her dad, because like when you go into her house, all of the faces of her and her dad were scratched out. But anyway, that's just a theory of mine. Unfortunately,
even more evidence.
And
I think Bobby was the one who mentioned that in the comments earlier.
with little to no information, that's all I can work on is theories. And then although they had Arthur like explain exactly what happened to him, that doesn't really explain what happened to him. He was left for dead and then didn't die. I don't understand that. So at the end of the day, out of 13 discarded human faces, I guess I'll give this episode 8. While I certainly had a fun time watching it, filled with great scenes and characters, it, much like Dick's, I guess it just had no legs to stand on. All style, no substance.
Bobbert.
Good close, Bobby. Next, we're going to hear from Rebecca Johnson of Supergirl Radio fame. Take it away, Rebecca.
What's up, Legends of Gotham?
What's
This is
up?
Rebecca Johnson, and I wanted to send in some feedback about the Gotham Season 5 episode called Nothing's Shocking. Couple of quick things before I get into why I really wanted to chime in with some thoughts. The first thing is that I was glad that Bullock got a lot of story in this episode because so often he's played as a minor or forgotten character on the show. This week, we got to learn more about his past and see how far he's come. I did have a question, so my second little quick thing is that I was wondering if Jane Doe's mask was an homage to Jerry Hall's character in Batman 89. I asked this because in the comics, Jane Doe looks like she stepped out of the Bodies the Exhibition, so I wondered if the mask was an Easter egg to...
I don't know if it was or not, but it definitely kind of evoke that
Yeah.
for sure. If you guys don't know the reference, the Joker's girlfriend, he like throws some acid on her face and then makes her wear a mask.
Okay.
Kind of similar to the Jane Doe mask.
Jerry Hall in Batman 89. At least that was my first thought anyway. The third quick thing I had was also a question. The Gotham Twitter account tweeted, quote, "That Croc is a killer," unquote. So do we have confirmation that the guy in the sewer is Killer Croc? Because if so, I'm into it. Okay, so all...
I will say that not only did the Gotham Twitter account do that, but I also think David, who plays
Probably,
Bruce Wayne, mentioned that it was Killer Croc.
Yeah.
So that's a confirmed Killer Croc, or Filler Croc, as the case may be.
Filler Croc.
that stuff was great, but I mostly want to talk about Scarface. Everything about the way they handled the character arc of Arthur Penn transforming into the ventriloquist was a great long game from the writers. I loved how they incorporated Arthur's dynamic with Oswald into why he ends up with Scarface. Arthur's line about how Oswald forced him to be his puppet made my ears perk up and my mouth form a smile because, dang it, that was well played. Even the way they initially introduced Scarface and played him for laughs as a kooky and strange interaction with someone who seems unstable caused the dramatic turn to, "Oh my gosh, the dummy has a gun," was a strong move on part of the writers, the performers, and I would also say the direction. I have to say, Scarface looking through the window blinds made me cackle because he is such a ridiculous Batman villain, which of course made him fit perfectly into the world of Fox's Gotham. Well,
Definitely.
that's it for me, and I can't wait to hear your thoughts.
I definitely agreed on all points. Scarface was pretty much spectacular.
Yeah,
for
absolutely.
sure. For sure. Thanks, Rebecca, for the voicemail. Next up, we have one from Mike Pasqua. Take it away, Mike.
Well, Bill and Anne Marie, this is Mike Pasqua. A couple things stand out from this episode of Gotham. One, Jane Doe. Now, it didn't dawn on me until halfway through the episode when first off they kept saying her name, her actual name, and then they actually had to hit me over the head with it in terms of Jane Doe. You know, when I saw her and she was taking the face of the other people, I didn't think Jane Doe. I thought was the villain from the 1966 Batman TV show, Falseface. That's who I thought. And
That is a great point. I
know none of the things.
it was like he had these plastic masks he could put on, kind of thing. And yeah, the faces they rip off of her kind of remind me a little bit of that. They were a little more transparent, I think, but
that's not what the characters in the thing thought. Now, in the show thought. They thought Basil Carlo, but that's not what I thought. That's number one. Number two, Harvey blames himself for what happened to Jane Doe. Number three, she's still pregnant, but Jane Doe hits her stomach, hits Barbara's doesn't punch her in the stomach, but hits her in the stomach,
Barbara is approximately 16 days pregnant. She's fine.
yeah,
She's fine.
Okay. Wait, is Barbara pregnant?
I have no idea. Look at my bragging belly. No, she would be absolutely perfectly fine. Unless, like, she had a knife to her stomach.
Okay, we're going to
continue.
lean away from the darkness.
Well.
Now, how we know you're not supposed to, jostle a woman when she's pregnant like that. Get physical with her, that type of thing, that way. And that's what she did. She basically elbowed her in the stomach. Now, how will this affect the baby? We don't know, because we probably won't see the birth.
I would imagine that it will, affect the baby in the sense that the baby will have proclivities or leanings towards vigilantism, possibly.
Vigilantism,
That's
yes.
generally what happens when
you jostle the baby.
Yeah,
you have a
when
vigilante. They like to climb on things.
Yeah.
My youngest, you jostled around because he was the youngest. He stands on his head all the time. Yeah. Like it's as close to a supervillain as he gets.
He also leaps from rooftop to rooftop often.
Or from counter to counter to get the good snack.
Exactly.
But that's that. Now, as far as what Bruce and Alfred were doing, when I saw that mutant guy in the thing, as they were chasing whoever they were chasing, I saw that when I saw that mutant guy, what I thought first of, well, that's Killer Croc. That's the next thing. But I like the realization of the ventriloquist and that.
Got cut off there.
And there we go.
Sorry about that, Mike. But thank you very much for calling in. And we're going to wrap up with a letter from Mark. He says, "Hi, folks. So I'm betting that this was one of the 2 additional episodes filmed after the finale."
Oh, see, that actually makes even more sense.
Definitely.
And that makes sense why next week's with who the writer and the director are.
Very true.
Because next week it's written by Ben McKenzie and directed by Aaron.
Yeah.
And everybody else was probably already like off contract and they're like, we'll do it. Sorry, continue.
Yeah, but it gave us 3 new villains, 2 of whom died, and the third, who I'm guessing will eventually become Killer Croc, is down in the sewer, never to be seen again until the show is rebooted. Plus, they have been back and forth all year on whether we will get to see the ventriloquist. So bringing Penn back under sketchy circumstances to fill that role seems like a perfect answer to what do we do with 48 extra minutes of television. On the plus side, I thought the episode itself was a lot of fun. I have no trouble with villain of the week procedurals. I really enjoyed Scarface, and the ironic reveal that there was nothing wrong with Jane's face was more chilling than actually having her disfigured would have been. Actually, I thought the whole creepy house with the faces scratched out of the photos was very nicely done.
I was creeped out more by the dolls.
On the other hand, I wish they had given us a little more clarity on Jane's role in the original murder.
Yes!
Yeah, that was a little murky, but actually it was
completely too murky.
It was too murky. I guess the underlying idea was that
the mother
should have been shown mercy under a battered woman defense, but the little girl blamed the cops for making her testify and sent her mother away instead. Even so, I can't see how they made Jane a killer until she started actually killing the cops themselves.
And why did it take her 20 years?
4 episodes left. Wow, what a ride it's been. You ain't just whistling Dixie there, Mark. Thank you very much. And, if you want to whistle Dixie to us next week after you watch the episode, you can email us legendsofgotham@gmail.com. The voicemail is 424-274-2352. Again, that's 424-274-2352. The Twitter's at Legends of Gotham, and the Facebook is facebook.com/Legends of Gotham, where we broadcast 9 p.m. EST Sunday nights, talking about the latest stuff, and you'll get to hear your stuff played back as long as we don't get too much. Sometimes we don't play
Sometimes we can't play it all.
Sometimes we don't play anything. No, sometimes we always play something.
Sometimes we don't play anything.
Sometimes we don't play games around here.
Bill needs sleep.
Bill does need sleep. Bill
basically worked out for 4 hours today.
Yeah, it was fun. It was fun. Okay, so hey, Marie, where can people find you online?
You can find me on Twitter at AMDSimone. I think it's down here. And you can find me on Instagram here at UBAnmarie.
As for me, you can follow me on Twitter or Instagram at Bill Meeks. You can follow...
Yeah, way to get the same thing for both.
You can follow the Fakest, which, like I said, we're gearing up here in March or something to
March
launching
or
season
something.
2.
Do you notice it started off March-ish, sometime in March, maybe March.
And we might have a couple little bonus episodes coming out before the main season
story,
starts
true
too.
story.
So definitely check all that stuff out. And if nothing else, join us back here next week. We want to thank everyone who's been in the chat room
Yes,
tonight.
thank you,
Peter
thank you.
Price and Mike
Don Noir and Mike
Pasqua,
Pasqua. Rebecca was there for a
Soledad,
little while. Soledad.
and the partridge that was in the pear tree.
Wow.
So I guess that about does it.
Truth.
I guess that about does it. I guess that about does it. And it's
next time.
until next time. Join us next time for more Legends of Gotham. You're a little weird.
You're a little weird.
Yep.